I really am one to think of the benefits or the blessings of even a not so great situation. So
Yeah,
that's what it is.
definitely. I loved looking through your posts that you've been posting on Age into Beauty. They're really,
Oh
really
yeah.
some really, really enlightening things that I think a lot of people need to realize right now.
Oh,
But
thank you. Thank you. I
yeah,
mean, for years now, I've been utilizing it as my own personal platform, like for therapy, I guess, as a
yeah,
way to kind of release and express what I'm feeling without having any care or concern about what other people think, to literally just speak my truth. And you can learn from it or, whatever, or you can just
yeah.
keep going. So,
Yeah, I think that's the beautiful thing about social media because obviously it has a really dark side to it as well, creating all this like comparison and
yeah.
and unrealistic expectations, but then also, yeah, you can use it in that way in a
Hmm.
great way to also find communities and
Yes.
share these things as well. So, but
I
yeah.
mean, the biggest, one of the biggest satisfactions for me is then seeing other people feel like they can share too or be transparent. And I encourage people to do that because
Yeah.
it's so easy to just, even if there's resonance in a post, to just look at it or even just like it, but then to come and chime in and share your experience or, it's so powerful. And other people, it's like a domino effect.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think that's been such a common theme in this project that, I guess just people seeing someone being as authentic as that and just sharing their feelings and being themselves, it is infectious. It just kind of,
Yes.
like you say, it just inspires more people to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
My pleasure.
But yeah, if you could just start and tell me a bit about what you do. Obviously, I know a little bit from your social media, but I'd love to hear it from you about your passions and how you express yourself and just, yeah, go as much as you want.
Sure. Let's see. Well, I'll introduce myself. My name is Aja Echevarria, and I always say I do many things. I don't like to box myself in to necessarily to any categories or labels, although, I can assign certain names to the things that I do. So I'll do that to
Yeah.
some of the things that I do. And I think it's an ever evolving thing too when you're creative. Like I do things that I don't even know that I do yet. you know
Yeah.
but I call myself a healing artist, and even that title is very broad, so it
Mm.
encompasses many things. But in my work, my work really is fine tuning my relationship with myself, so that I can be a clear channel for receiving messages from spirit in everything that I create. Whether
Yeah.
it's the products that I sell, I create healing tools. So I make energy infused oils and aura sprays and bath tonics, things that you would use in your self care or grooming routine that
Mm.
allow you an opportunity to have a better connection to your higher self and to your
Mm.
spirit. So I do that.
Amazing.
I also do healing services such as spiritual baths and energetic services, um, including but not exclusive to things such as the Reiki modalities and things of that nature, using sound and crystals and just my own intuitive, you know, energy.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else do I do? I make, along with a partner, we make clothing and
Amazing.
accessories from
Yeah.
upcycled vintage fabrics.
Ah, wow.
And let's see, what else? I love to cook, and I find a very strong connection to spirit with cooking. I
Mm.
love to be in nature, and I receive lots of inspiration and ideas for new things, new products, new projects, and things from nature.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
so that kind of sums it
Amazing.
up.
Yeah, that's amazing. You do so many incredible things. Um, could you tell me a bit about your way of dressing, your style, and like what do you think that says about you, or why is that important to you as well, to that you can do that?
Well, clothing has, it's always been important to me. It's always been a way to express who I am or what I'm feeling. I think what's different about me now than how I used to use clothing as an expression, I used to try to bridge gaps. Like when I was in high school, I considered myself what I called a preppy punk. So I would mix, and I grew up in the early days of MTV. So I would blend, say, Ralph Lauren and turtlenecks with whales on them, and khaki pants with the rainbow, ribbon belt. And I would take my bandana and I roll up my bandana and I would tie it around my ankle, and I would wear one horn earring and one stud, and I would express myself more through a punk lens with my makeup, and I would cut up the Def Leppard t-shirts, and I would mix that. It was a real mashup of like this waspy aesthetic along with like the anti-fashion sort of feel. And I think part of me did that because I too was bridged between those two worlds, and I was wanting to find a place that felt comfortable for me. Whereas now, what's important to me is the fabric content of clothing. My aesthetic now is truly nearly 100% natural fibers. So I really love, it feels good to wear cotton, hemp clothing, Indian cotton, silk, African and Indian batiks and things that are hand woven. And it really feels good that it's truly an extension of the earth to wear clothing that is plastic free. Yeah, and I think too, another expression of my current way to use fashion is I use it as armor. I use it as spiritual armor. I intentionally choose what I wear based on how I want to feel, what I want to project, and how I want to project myself when I go out into, the world. So what I wear is truly an expression of how I'm feeling, what I want to say, and it's in unison with how I adorn my body with jewelry and with oils and tinctures and spiritual tonics and colognes as a vessel of both receiving and protecting myself from outside sources. So right now, I really do that intentionally every day. If I go out, I'll be led by spirit to what I put on. And I don't know. I don't aspire to dress like a certain character or like a certain costume. I just have this natural affinity and connection towards walking spiritual warriors, whatever that definition or illusion is, or that visual is. That's how I kind of navigate around the world. So I choose pieces and I choose to wear clothing that gives me that feeling. So I like a flow. I often bridge and dip my toe into gender fluid expression of clothing. I love a masculine presenting expression of clothing that appears more what one would believe to be an expression of divine masculinity, whatever that is.
Yeah. No, I think it's really interesting that kind of blurring the line between feminine and masculine, and I think there's something so beautiful to be taken from both sides. No matter what gender you are, I think you shouldn't have to be limited to just only tapping into one. I think a lot of the issues that we have around people wanting to be themselves is due to a lot of those limitations. What ways would you say that you live your life against society's expectations?
I don't, let's see. Oh, that's such a deep question. I'm just wired that way. And it's something that I have come to realize, and I know it now for sure, but it kind of took a while to get here as far as a full understanding of knowing that the true, leaders of thought and new ideas are always the weirdos and the misfits.
So true.
And I've always been drawn to the non-conventional, and I consider myself to be very anti-establishment. So anything that goes kind of against what the masses are doing, you'll find me in that little party. So I love things that are averse to what everyone else is doing. I don't know if that kind of answers. Ask me that question again, please.
Well, I think you answered it pretty well, but in what ways do you think you live your life against society's expectations? But I suppose
I really don't give a fuck. I really, really don't. And it's emboldening, and it's liberating. That feeling really feeds me, so that there is no fear in, like I was saying before about the younger, or the past version of myself. I think I really was trying to satisfy others in my dress.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I remember saying that to a friend, and because I was almost saying it in a way that it was like something to achieve, to be able to dress in a way that makes other people feel comfortable. I think for me, it was like, that was my way of appeasing. I think I have that nature in me, or I used to, of wanting to be a peacekeeper or a pacifier, or everyone feel welcome and everyone feel comfortable. Whereas, as I've been coming more into my true self, I really feel much more satisfied by filtering all of that out and really, truly just going with my own innate call or message to really listen to what I want to say when I put clothes.
Could you tell me about that kind of process, of realization that you needed to be more true to yourself? Like, obviously, you said about the time when you were trying to please other people. Like, was it kind of a series of moments, or was it one kind of really, really big one that made you realize that you needed to change that?
Oh gosh, what a great and poignant question. And it's one that I think I will always continue to go back to until my last days, is my mother's death. The most poignant paradigm shift that really sparked my ability to understand my new way of existing in the world without my mother's physical presence. And I think that I was immediately able to understand that it was an opportunity to, I don't even know, it just literally was a snap. And I was able to realize many things, that my marriage wasn't going anywhere, that I really should be doing what I wanted. My lens of everything should be myself. And, the strings that we have and our attachments that we have to our mother and to our parents is very, very strong. And the energetic cord of death can, for many, be a liberating experience to exist in the world how you define yourself. And my relationship with my mother was very positive, very strong, very connected. And yet and still, I was able to instantly receive that happening as one of freedom and liberation. So it was both instant and gradual, in that I had to take every situation as its own and really take that one experience at a time.
I completely get you with that, because I've lost my father as well, and I think there's something of, after you've been through something that life-changing and painful, I think you kind of almost have a bit of fearlessness. Like, everything afterwards is like a small fry compared to that, so it's almost like, well, I don't need to care what these insignificant people think, because I think, like, I know what you mean when you said you kind of you get stuck in that place of wanting to please everyone and sort of wanting everyone to feel comfortable. I've definitely felt that in the past, because I think if you're a caring person, you can get stuck in that space where you worry that you're making other people feel uncomfortable. And if you're being mindful, and there's nothing wrong with sometimes making people feel ever so slightly uncomfortable, but it's so difficult to define that space where obviously some people can be really out there and but not caring what anyone else thinks in a negative way, and it makes people feel
Right.
bad about
Yeah,
themselves.
see, yes,
But
and that those are two very different things. And
exactly,
yes,
yeah,
exactly. I also think
yeah,
what complicates things many times is, this experience of womanhood. And, we are very much conditioned to put others before ourselves in our
yes,
relationships, in our, marital life, with our children, in our communities, in
yeah,
our, churches or whatever. We have to really retrain ourselves to feed ourselves first, because we've
yeah.
been really bamboozled into
So
thinking that
true.
we need to feed others before we feed ourselves.
That's so true. Yeah, definitely. What does the word eccentric mean to you?
I think for me, it goes back to what I was talking about before, about going against the grain or going in the opposite direction of what everyone else is doing. There's nothing cookie cutter about eccentricity. It's, it has a fluidity to it, because it doesn't even necessarily mean the most loud, rambunctious outfit. Eccentricity can be delivered in the most minimalistic, simplistic expression. It is thought, an idea, consciousness that is undeterred by others. That would
Yeah.
be my definition of it.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think it's really interesting how, for me, in my country, in the UK, it's definitely been perceived, or at least put to me in many times throughout my life, as being a negative thing that's associated with people that are a bit odd or a bit, something wrong with them. And then I realised that it really didn't mean that at all. And when you look at the definition, all it means is away from what everyone else is doing, like away from the
Mm-hmm.
center, and I think
Yes.
it's that center that I'm trying to sort of work out. Like, even if, does that mean that even just being a creative person is being eccentric? Because that's not what society tells you to do. They would. So yeah, I think it's really interesting to kind of find out what people's views of that word is.
Oh, I think if we did a cross section of the society of eccentric people, is that a group? Is that a worldwide society? I think that most of the members would be artists.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Why would you say that creative expression is important to your well-being?
It's directly connected to spirit. That's what I would say. It is, creativity is an expression of spirit. It is a channeling of sorts.
Yeah.
It is a release of divine information. And it's crucial that every human being finds a way to tap into some sort of creative expression or creativity.
Yeah.
Point blank. End of story.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Would you say, I guess maybe probably not now, because now you find it, I would say you probably find it pretty easy to be yourself, right? But I guess maybe in the past, when were kind of the easiest and the hardest situations that you felt it to be yourself in? Sorry, if that makes sense.
I would say you can really succumb to that when you're not being self-aware.
Yeah.
And it's a constant learning process. It's part of the human condition, I believe. And it's something that we, with concerted effort, it's a muscle that we can strengthen and build.
Yeah.
And it's not to be confused with compassion. I think the idea of having a deep understanding of others is crucial, but having a trajectory or your own kind of inner compass that is guiding you to navigate in situations where you feel like you need to acquiesce, who you are. I think it's a delicate balancing act too, because sometimes there's I have the very strong notion of speaking my truth and expressing myself in any number of ways. And there are times where I feel it's most beneficial to not say anything and to be silent and to, go within and reflect on myself, as opposed to, thinking about what this other person is thinking or feeling or such.
Yeah, no, definitely. What advice would you have to give someone who is struggling to find their true selves, or struggling to just be authentic in normal life, I guess with other people,
Well, I'm not one to give advice. I'm
Mm.
more one to lead by example.
Yeah.
So to answer that question, I would say, it's important to understand how crucial language is. So to be very aware of the words and the language that you use when you talk about yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's very important to use language that is more aligned with what you're wanting than what you're not wanting. It's important to allow in to your physical reality and consciousness, whether it's through social media or through the people you engage with and interact with. It might be something that you take a look at and filter through. Why are you looking at people who make you feel bad about yourself, who make you feel like you should lose weight, but you're not good enough or not pretty enough? Why are you looking at those people? Yeah. Why are you putting out imagery or messages that is contradictory to what you want? Why are you doing that? These are questions that might be good to ask oneself if you're having a difficult time connecting with who you really are.
Yeah. No, very true. Couldn't agree more. Do you have any mentors or idols in your life, or people that have kind of helped you to get to sort of I guess discover yourself and find your true self? Whether it's people in your life directly or people like idols that you look up to, or
I really don't aspire to idolatry of anyone. This is a learning curve that I've arrived at. I used to do that. I too no longer believe in mentorship. I very much believe that I'm always a student and a teacher, and I aspire to engage with people who feel the same. I don't want to be put on a pedestal. I don't desire to be anyone's guru. I don't find it a compliment to be compared to people like Erykah Badu. I am my own person. And but to answer that to my best ability, I would say my higher self is my idol, is my mentor. I learn step by step with each interaction and each experience that I have, whether it's with my partner or with people I engage with on media, or whether it's my children, or whether it's I have no desire to look at people on any sort of level of anything, whether that's celebrity or achievement or notoriety. I have just as much within me that's equal to people who have or are perceived as a certain level of anything.
Yeah, no, so true.
And I know that that's arriving at that place, at this place for me. It took certain steps to get there. And, if people have the need to utilize that sort of mindset to allow to get to a certain place, I do think it's a slippery slope, though. You can look at, even people who in the spiritual modalities who are guru, or who claim to be guru, or claim to be shaman, or claim to be this or that. That's when you should really take a close look. Because shamans don't go around calling themselves shamans.
Yeah, true.
Gurus don't go around calling themselves gurus. They give out what they have freely. They give out what they have without anything in expectation. They don't want to be put up on a revered or idolized.
Yeah. What's shamanism is something that's been really fascinating for me, because I think it's something that in the Western society, in the Western world, is just not really, it's just never discussed. But when you go, I guess when you go to sort of outside in tribes and things, they're talked about as these incredible shamans who are obviously in touch with so much more than the regular person. But in these countries, it's just people that may be seen as shamans there are sort of are probably told that they have terrible mental health issues, they're ill, there's something really wrong with them. And I think that stops so many people from, fulfilling their potential because they constantly just think there's something wrong with them.
For sure. And this conversation, I mean, I could talk about this all day, because what we're really talking about is what I like to call like spiritual warriors. Okay. And there's a great deal of sacrifice involved in walking that path, because you see, not every person, man, woman, or child, understands that path. And when there's a lack of understanding, what you have is cognitive dissonance. So in your family, in your community, in your circle, you can be seen as an outcast, because you're not always acquiescing to the needs of others. As a spiritual warrior, essentially your main importance is your connection to spirit, and there are so many distractions that can get in the way of that. And it does require, cutting cords and telling people no and having boundaries that oftentimes will cause the end of relationships. And so in indigenous communities, because that has been the pinnacle position, or it has been, or in many cases that was, the witch doctor or the shaman or the witch or the healer, a lot of times those people are operating in isolation in order to not be influenced by the distractions and the the comings and goings in the community and so forth of the different outside things that are happening, where you being connected to spirit requires a great deal of focus. And that's what I would say is the Western world is all about distractions. It's all about the masses, it's all about doing what we're told and being good citizen, and you can't even really have this conversation without talking about racial aspects, because it is the patriarchal colonizer white mindset that has really debilitated our connection to the earth and to spirit and to plants and to ourselves. And so what we're having right now is this rising up of energy with the age of Aquarius. It's a rising up of many things coming to the surface that were stripped away from us, I would say.
Definitely. It makes me think of, witchcraft and how, obviously back in the day, how they would be burned at the stake if they revealed themselves, so I think it's just constantly being stripped away from humanity for years and years.
Yes. And then and now you have that is true. And now you have this influx of spiritual representatives. And what's really important right now is to be discerning, because there are snake oil salesmen and women and children and gays and whatever you want to call it, snake oil salesmen, charlatans who are, playing the role. And so it's a whole duality even just within that kind of cross section of this conversation.
No, so true.
That to me is due to spiritual ego. Like, a lot of people are getting into this platform to become celebrity spiritualists or yoga practitioners or energy workers, or there are numerous names for it, but it's very important that we kind of really get into and tune in to what somebody is really giving us.
Definitely. What in life inspires and empowers you the most? Or what are the things that inspire you?
I would have to start out with every aspect of nature.
Yeah.
I've always been fascinated with the sky, with the
Yeah.
moon, with wind, with the birds, just observing nature. I would say I'm able to really tune in to receiving messages and receiving new ideas. I would say first and foremost from nature.
Yeah.
I'm most inspired in the bathtub. I'm a water sign. I'm highly affected by submerging myself in water. So baths are a daily practice, and it's really where I receive the most medicine and the most inspired ideas for new products and new expressions or things that I want to say come to me in the bathtub. Very inspired by my partnership. My relationship with my partner is extremely divine, and it's a constant learning and expression and growing. And then I would say motherhood as well is extremely inspiring. It's extremely difficult,
Yeah.
but it's extremely inspiring. I find my children to be major recipients of lessons of how to take personal responsibility for myself, my choices, my reactions, how I choose to engage with them, what I can learn from them, how I can teach them, how I can learn from them. I said that already, but I'm going to say it again. I would say those would be the ways I'm most inspired. And by just expressing myself freely. If I want to try something or do something, I'll just try it and not be afraid of failing or messing up or, learning to do something. I think releasing fear is very important.
Definitely.
For inspiration.
Totally agree. What are the things that you value the most in life?
I would say laughter. I really value these days my inner child. I have a whole personality that comes out. and she is a true expression of things that are important. This character has little, temper tantrums or little idiosyncrasies that I really felt I didn't get to express as a kid. I think I was unfairly placed in a position of being allowed to take on a role of making people feel better, and it was never a fair role to be given to me. And so I bit my tongue a lot. I would hide under the table. I sucked my thumb. I would revert into a quiet but resentful, moody place as a form of giving people the least of myself that I thought they deserved if they hurt my feelings, instead of saying how I felt. So I value all the things that Azua wants to do and say. That's her name. And very few people get to see her. Very special ones.
I love that, because I think it's so important to play in life, and I think that's kind of what creativity is a lot of the time. It's just that allowing yourself to play and just explore and experiment without, planning everything to the T. It's that freedom to just explore and experiment, really.
Yes. I mean, I would say that's a long list, like, dancing, silliness, tickling. I love tickling. All the things that are associated with child play, I really value. I mean, food, orgasms are really great. That's, to me, the good life. Those are the aspects of the good life.
100%. You have to be in touch with your inner child. I don't know what you've got if you can't be.
Right.
Do you have any kind of material possession or possessions or anything that kind of you think sums you up as a person or you really value?
I would have to say my mother's ashes. I do love photographs. I love books. I love plants. I love textiles. I love, I love hand woven or natural fibers. You can truly feel the story, the narrative behind the culture or the community that created that textile. I'm a big fan of always, having a scarf nearby. To wrap my head or to keep me warm or to sit down on or, to use as a pillow. Textiles are very important.
It's been so amazing talking to you, honestly. Thank you for this.
Thank you, Heather. This has been really a great time for me too. I love opportunities to just be myself and share my experiences with someone who wants to hear them. So
100%. It's been amazing to talk to you, and I think you're going to be one of the shining subjects of the project. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I look forward to seeing it all unfold, and I commend you for this vessel of healing that you're embarking on. It's so important for us to tell our stories and do so without apology and without fear. It's inspiration for others, for sure.
Amazing.
I can't wait.
Day.
You too, Heather. Thank you. Be well.
You too. Bye.
Keep in touch, okay?